How to read the final warning signs when the world has ended, the news is lying, and everyone around you is still sipping lattes. The grid still hums, the lights still work. Somebody's posting brunch photos while the supply chain bleeds out in a back alley. You can feel it, that wrong frequency under everything, but the neighbors are mowing their lawns and the anchorman is smiling. Collapse doesn't arrive with trumpets, it tiptoes, and by the time the average human notices, the shelves are already empty and the ATMs are already laughing at them. No worries, we're building your DIY collapse detector. 6 signs, 0 gear, pure pattern recognition. Let's go. Why nobody sees it coming. The science of looking away. Here's the dirty little secret of every collapse in recorded history. People knew, they just refused to know. Psychologists have a name for this, normalcy bias. Your brain is a lazy roommate. It assumes tomorrow will look like yesterday because that's cheaper to compute. Studies on disaster response, Pompeii, Katrina, the 2004 tsunami, the early days of every market crash show the same pattern. Between 70 and 80% of people freeze, deny, or rationalize when the warning sirens go off. Only about 10 to 15% act fast. The rest, they finish their coffee. That's not a personality flaw, that's neurology. The amygdala flinches, the prefrontal cortex overrides it with, nah, can't be that bad. And congratulations, you've just been domesticated by your own skull. So step 1 of survival isn't a bug-out bag. It's learning to override the meat between your ears. Sign 1, the quiet bank shuffle. Before every major financial collapse, 1929, 2008, the 2023 regional bank wobble, there's a strange quiet, not panic, quiet. Wealthy people move money first, and they move it politely. Watch for sudden policy updates on withdrawal limits. Watch for banks gently nudging customers toward digital-only accounts. Watch for the phrase temporary technical issues appearing 3 times in 1 month. The method? Pull up your bank's news page once a week. Boring? Yes, but the language changes before the doors do. When you see words like liquidity, consolidation, or restructuring sneaking into press releases, the rats are already swimming. In 2008, Bear Stearns was fundamentally sound 72 hours before it wasn't. That's not a conspiracy, that's the public record. If your bank suddenly loves you and offers bonuses to keep deposits in, congrats, you've spotted a liquidity squeeze in real time. Sign 2, the shelf whisper. Forget empty shelves. By the time shelves are empty, you're late. The real signal is subtle substitution. The brand you've bought for 10 years quietly shrinks. The 16-ounce jar becomes 14. The family size loses 2 ounces but keeps the price. This is called shrinkflation, and it's the supply chain whispering that input costs are eating producers alive. The method? Pick 5 staple items: rice, oil, coffee, eggs, toilet paper. Photograph the price and weight monthly. Yes, like a deranged accountant. Within 6 months, you'll have a personal inflation index more honest than any government number. The US CPI excludes or adjusts volatile categories. Your pantry doesn't lie. When 3 of those 5 items shrink in the same quarter, something upstream is breaking. Could be fertilizer, could be shipping, could be currency. Doesn't matter. The shelf is telling you to stock up while it still can. Sign 3, the insurance twitch. Insurance companies are professional pessimists, paid to predict doom. When they pull out of a region, Florida, California, parts of Louisiana, that's not politics, that's actuarial science screaming. State Farm stopped writing home policies in California in 2023. Allstate followed. 7 major insurers exited Florida between 2022 and 2024. These companies have rooms full of mathematicians whose only job is calculating when a place becomes uninsurable. The method? Every 6 months, search your state plus insurer plus exit or non-renewal. If the men with spreadsheets are running, you should at least be jogging. They make decisions, not headlines. Follow the decisions. Sign 4. The elite real estate pattern. Billionaires don't tweet their fears. They buy land. Specifically, remote land with water rights, far from coastlines, near small airstrips. Mark Zuckerberg's Kauai compound, Peter Thiel's New Zealand citizenship, the Kansas missile silo condos that actually sold out. This is documented, public, on tax records. They're not paranoid, they're hedged. You don't need a bunker, you need to notice the pattern. When the people with the best information allocate capital toward isolation, water, and food independence, that's a free intelligence briefing. They are showing you their threat model. You just have to look. The method? Follow agricultural land sales in your region on county records. Public data. Free. When out-of-state LLCs start buying farmland with well rights, something is being priced in that CNN hasn't mentioned yet. Sign 5. The language shift. Watch how officials talk, not what they say, how. Before every controlled collapse, vocabulary mutates. Recession becomes soft landing. Inflation becomes transitory. Bank failure becomes orderly resolution. Shortage becomes supply chain adjustment. War becomes kinetic action. This is called euphemism creep, and linguists have tracked it through declassified Cold War documents, Soviet-era press, and modern central bank statements. When a word gets replaced by a softer cousin 3 times in a single press conference, the thing the word described is happening, and they know it. Sign 5. The behavior of the calm ones. Here's the eerie part. Right before things crack, strangers get friendlier. Cashiers chat longer, neighbors wave more, politicians smile harder. This isn't comfort, it's social cohesion making one last desperate bid to hold the pattern together. Sociologists call it terminal optimism. It's the same chemical glow people describe in the calm before a hurricane hits, in the hour before a market panic, in the days before a city falls. If everything feels suspiciously fine, pay attention. Normal isn't supposed to feel performed. What you actually do about it? This isn't a doom guide, it's a calibration guide. You're not building a bunker, you're building eyes. Start small. 3 weeks of food and water. The unsexy basics. About $200 buys you a month of beans, rice, oil, salt, and water filtration. The CDC and FEMA both recommend a 2-week minimum. Most Americans have less than 3 days. Be the boring person who has 14. Keep cash, physical, in small bills. Every modern outage, from the 2021 Texas grid failure to the 2024 CrowdStrike crash, proved that the system is down means you don't eat unless you have paper. A few $100s in 20s is not paranoia, it's a Tuesday. Learn one skill that doesn't need electricity: sharpening a knife, fixing a bike, growing tomatoes, filtering water through sand, gravel, and charcoal. Yes, that actually works. It's the same principle municipal plants use, just smaller and uglier. Know 2 routes home from work without GPS. The day the maps die, the people who memorize the city eat dinner at home. The rest sleep in parking lots. And finally, build a tribe of 3. Not a militia. 3 humans who pick up the phone at 3 a.m. without asking why. History shows the people who survive collapse aren't the lone wolves with gear, they're the boring ones with friends. Collapse isn't a moment, it's a slope. The people sipping lattes aren't stupid, they're running outdated software. Your job isn't to panic, your job is to notice. Notice the language, the shelves, the insurers, the billionaires, the cashiers smiling too long. When the lights flicker, half the world will say weird and go back to scrolling. You won't be in that half anymore. The signs are always there. The screaming is optional. Stay sharp, stay quiet, stay early. The world doesn't end with a bang. It ends with everyone pretending it isn't.